Welcome to www.findingbraid.com. We are doing a different type of 4-strand. It'll be the same 4-strand round that the videos are already up, but it'll be done in a different style for people who are having a hard time doing the overhand. This time we'll do an underhand, and you can choose which way works better for you. So you want to take 4 strands and start by picking up the 1, 2, 3, 4, the third one over, and it comes over this way. So the third one came from above and it moved all the way over into the right hand, and it's in between the thumb and the first finger, and we're going to keep it there. Create a different spot for the next strand. This first strand is deposited right next to it in the second spot. So the third strand went from 3 over to 1, and 1 goes from 1 over to 2. And then we're going to take the last strand over here, number 4, and from above we're bringing it over to the next slot, and then the last strand becomes the 4th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to gather the reason I didn't show this one before is because the gather can be tricky at first until you really understand what you're doing. Instead of just dropping it into a strand to make it bigger, we're going to pick back up that last strand. We're going to gather from underneath into the third. So I don't know if you saw that, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4. We brought the gather under and we put it into this one. So take up, so we're going to count the other way now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Picking up the third one from above. Palm is up, it's in the first spot. Then we're taking the 4th one and it goes into the second spot. Then we're taking this one, last one, the first one, and it goes into the third spot. And then the remaining one becomes the 4th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The third one is which gets the gather, but not from above. We're not taking it and dropping it into the third one. We're going to gather and we're going to slide that gather under the final strand and into that third spot. So that's why I didn't show this before, is because it's a little tricky, but some people might find it easier. First of all, your palm is up, so the hair gravitationally is working with your hand. That might be easier. And this weaving pattern might be easier. So pick up this third strand, palm up becomes the first becomes the second, the last becomes the third, the final becomes the 4th, and then we gather coming from below, skipping the last one, coming in and going into the third and dropping that down. So notice how I took the gather and put it in place, and this is still tangled right here. So once it's in place, I can come with my hand and I can detangle that strand. So you don't have to worry about trying to separate that hair while you gather. Take the third, take the first, take the furthest away, the remaining one, gather, and I'm not separating that gather from the rest of the hair. It's a mess there, but we'd bring it under, drop it into the third, put that 4th one back in place, and now that my hand is free, then I go ahead and I separate all that hair. That way you're not doing some crazy dance trying to separate that beforehand. Come in and grab that third, palm up, and then grab the first. Take the last and set the remaining. Gather from under into the third, and then come back in and separate that gather. Get all those hairs untangled. Take the third, take the first. Take the last, set the remaining. Gather from under, skipping one, into the third. Set that down and then detangle your gather. Take the third, the first, the last, set the remaining. Gather, skipping one, going into the third one, and then detangling the hair after with your free hand. Take the third, take the last, or the first, take the last, take the remaining, gather, come from underneath, put it into the third one, and then detangle. From above, come up, take this third one, first one, last one, set the remaining, gather, bring it under and into the third one, come from above, take that third, first, last, set, gather into the third one from below, detangle, grab that third, first, last, and set the remaining. So as you can see, this is creating the 4-strand round that sits up like a square on top of that, on top of the hair. It's a French braid. It's actually a Dutch braid because it sits up instead of folding in. And just keep repeating that all the way down. Third, first, last, remaining, gather underneath. Third, first, last, remaining. Go underneath, gather into the third, third, first, last, remaining, gather from underneath into that third. Third, first, last, remaining, from underneath, gather into the third.